New maths topic today. We're going to concentrate on for the next week and a half or so. And our new maths topic is how to tell the time. We're going to start that today. We're going to work through to the end of next week, probably doing that, okay? And when your mums and dads pick up your reading books today, you're going to have a little baby version of this clock, a little tiny cute one, that you can help with you with your time work over the next week and a half. So hopefully you get those today. But today we don't really need them because it's quite simple. We're starting off very, very easy, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the time. Read you some facts about the time. Okay, so time can be measured in lots of different things: years, months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, and even seconds. There's lots of different ways of measuring time. Some of them are really long, like years, or even, does anyone remember what 10 years was called from our history? Decades. Some of them can be even longer, 100 years, a century, 1,000 years, a millennium. But we are going to concentrate today on telling the time in hours, and an hour is 60 minutes. So there are 24 hours in a day, which is broken into 2 bits, each having 12 hours. So there's 12 hours plus 12 hours making 24 hours. 12 hours in the first half of the day and 12 hours in the second half of the day. And as I said, 1 hour is made up of 60 minutes. So if you look at my clock here, you can see lots of big numbers, but you can also see smaller numbers in blue around the outside. And you can see here, the start of counting, there's not a 0 here, but it's counted up in 5s. Look, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. There are 60 minutes in an hour, and each of those little blue dots is another minute going past, okay? Now we use clocks to tell us the time, so let's look. We need to get to know the main parts of the clock first of all. So if you look on the screen, we have our numbers. We've gone from 1 the whole way round to 12. We have some hands. Now this clock has 2 hands on it, but most clocks have 3 hands. They also have another hand, which we'll talk about in a minute, but we don't really need to know that just yet. Okay, so we've got some labels here, so let's look at it. So first one, we have clock face. Now the clock face is just the whole bit of the clock. You can see this flat yellow bit that you can see, circular shape. So let's label that on to the clock face. Instead of eyes and nose and mouth and ears, this face has numbers and it has hands. Okay, then we have 2 hands out of the 3 hands that are on a normal clock here. We have a minute hand and an hour hand. Now the minute hand is the longer one, and on your little clocks it will be the blue longer one. See the way that one's much longer than this? So that's the minute hand, and then we have the hour hand is the shorter one, which on your clocks is red, but on this clock is both. So let's label those. So we have minute hand, the longer one, and we have our hour hand, which is the shorter one. Then of course, this is a nice easy one. We have our numbers so we can actually read what time it is. So they're the main parts of the clock. So clock face, minute hand, hour hand, and obviously, nice easy one, the numbers. Okay, we use clocks to tell the time. The small hand tells us what hour it is, and the big long hand tells us how many minutes to or past each hour it is. We call this the minute hand. So hour hand, minute hand. You can see the noticeably different in how long they are. When the minute hand points straight up to 12, this is probably a time you've all heard of. It's an o'clock time. So if you look at my clock now, I know it's o'clock because it's up at 12, and my hour hand is at 4, so it's 4 o'clock. Okay, so we're going to try and read some different times on the screen. Okay, so we use clocks to tell us the time. What time is on this clock? Well, this one has 3 o'clock because the minute hand is up at 12, so we know it's o'clock. And the short hour hand is at 3, so it's 3 o'clock. Okay. Right. Let's say the time on these clocks together. Okay, so let's read them. They're all going to be o'clock times. So it's spinning round. It's going in a clockwise way. We'll learn about that next week. The clock is on. Well, I know it's o'clock. It is 1 o'clock. Okay. You see if you can start out at home the next time. Where are we going to stop? Oh, we have 2 o'clock, 1 hour later. we have 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So see, it's an hour of time is passing each way, and the direction which the minute hand is moving on this clock, this long hand, is called clockwise, because a clock always goes that direction. We cannot go back in time. A clock moves clockwise, so I'm going to move 1 hour is 1 full spin clockwise around the clock, to the right, to your right. Anyway, so we have 4 o'clock, we have 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock, and so on, okay? So, you've got a little game on your Education City account called TikTok. It's labelled just today's date, and there's lots of little games to help you with that. You're going to collect your clocks, hopefully today, so you'll have them ready for tomorrow when we start doing a little bit harder. I'll explain your task in a second, but first of all, I just want to show you something else. So I'm going to go back here, and I'll grab a pen. Okay, sorry about that, guys, I forgot my pen. So, some of your clock activities that you have to do today, you have to label, you have to match a time to the right clock that's showing that time. I don't think that'll be too hard, but a little bit harder is some of them you have to label the time yourself. You have to draw the minute hand and the hour hand onto your clock. So first things first, these are not the ones you're doing, but these are some examples. So my first one says 5 o'clock. So I know that an o'clock time is when the long minute hand is pointing up to 12. So I need to make sure that my longer hand is the one that's going up to 12, okay? I want them to be a difference in the lengths of the one I drew. So I'm going to draw a big long one the whole way up to 12, okay? So I've got my o'clock part, but I need to make it now 5 o'clock. But I don't want my hour hand to be as long because it's shorter, isn't it? You look at it again. We want our minute hand to be longer. This one's a little bit shorter, so I'm going to make sure mine is a little bit shorter as well, okay? And draw a little arrow on them as well. So I've got 5 o'clock, and I've got a longer minute hand than I have an hour hand, okay? Let's look at the next one. So we have 11 o'clock. So let's do my long o'clock first, right up the top. Try and do them straight. I'm sure you can do them even straighter than me. That's a little challenge for you. And 11 o'clock. So I found my 11, but I don't want to go fully there. Okay? 11 o'clock. Then my next one, I have 4 o'clock, so clock hand first. That's not very straight, is it? And another one to 4 o'clock. And then I have one more, I'll do one more for you, 9 o'clock. So see, it doesn't quite reach, but that one does. So that's what I want you to do today. So if I was you, I would do your TikTok activity on Education City first, and then you've got this to do. There is a little challenge sheet on the end of your maths today where it has some times and you have to spot if they are correct. And it's all to do with whether the hands are in the right place, because, for example, this one here, 11 o'clock. That might look like 11 o'clock, but look carefully. The minute hand is not pointing up the whole way to o'clock, and the hour hand is longer than it needs to be. So you need to spot and see if they've done the right thing for those, okay? Best of luck with that. Hopefully you get your clock so we can start doing a little bit harder tomorrow, but we'll start off nice and simple. So best of luck, okay? Thanks for sending me lots of great work yesterday. Keep up the great work. We're nearly there, nearly all back together.